Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Good morning to everybody over on Instagram. Good morning to everybody on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, YouTube, and anywhere else you happen to be watching. I am Mark Anthony. Look, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. The construction industry training board has been given yet another stay of execution. Yet another stay of execution. Let me tidy up my screen because we don't need that on there. There we are. Let's get rid of it. Got rid of that. Dan Cullen has arrived. Well, he was here very early, but he's just arrived 1 minute late. Not a problem at all. Here's a little thing what I wrote to coincide with the news that the CITB has been given a stay of execution yet again. The Construction Industry Training Board has survived yet another review, proving that the CITB is as unkillable as Michael Myers in the Halloween movies. And so begins another 3 years of the industry pondering whether the CITB is fit for purpose. Another 3 years in which we will all question the CITB's ability or even willingness to tackle the skill shortage that is throttling the sector. Consultant Mark Farmer spent 2 years looking into the CITB and its sister body, the Engineering Construction Industry Training Board, and he called for both bodies to be merged. The government has already dismissed that idea. Farmer has also called for a fundamental reset of construction industry training. Will we get it? I doubt it. By giving the CITB another 3 years, the sector has once again taken the better the devil you know option. Or to put it another way, the industry has had its fingers burned every 3 years for as long as most of us can remember. And it's just signed up to have them burned again. There's my thoughts on the CITB. Who we got here? Kay Catcher. Kay Catcher with that looks like a Ferrari in the picture. Don't know what you're doing here, but I'm bloody glad you're here. Good morning to you wherever you are. Alex Latham has just arrived. We have a button for Alex, which goes like that. And Ken Hatcher, who also has a button, he is here as well. Morning, Ken. I hope you're fit and well, my friend. In fact, I hope everybody now is fit and well. I know we've already had an answer come in on our question of the day, which I did trigger yesterday, but I'll come to that in just a moment. But first and foremost, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. It is Friday, the 31st of January. January is finally at an end. Didn't think we were going to make it for a while there, but it's finally at an end. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the walrus of demolition and the host with the most. In today's show, Liebherr lifts the lid on the astonishing R9300 Generation 8. We're going behind the scenes with Bobcat. We're going to listen to The Sound of Silence with Manitou and how Volvo helped relocate 3,000 homes. Hard enough as it is, but they did it inside the Arctic Circle. Yeah. Plus, in my morning monologue today, we now have more health and safety regulations than at any time in the industry's history. And yet we are still exposing workers to the same risks as their forebears from a less enlightened past. We'll come to all of that. But before we get to all that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine, which I will get to immediately after this. Yeah, I've had paintbrush out again, people. This is a fairly familiar machine, I think, but just not in this colour. There we are. No, take that one away. There you are. That's the machine we're looking for. I'm looking for a make and a model, which is also what I'm looking for in our question of the day, which I will remind you of just a second. But I'll leave that on the screen for a second. We're looking for a make and a model for our mystery machine, as always. Here's the reminder on the mystery. On the Yeah, question of the day today, which I flagged up yesterday, is precisely this. If we started a construction equipment hall of fame, what specific machines would you put in? Before I get on to that, I'm going to say a very quick good morning to Manitou UK. I've just joined us over on Instagram. If you stick around Manitou UK, we've got one of your films coming up a bit later on. But so, yes, hall of fame, what are you choosing? Now, as I say, I'm looking for, I don't know, iconic, game-changing equipment through the ages, and not just a make, but a specific model. Now, personally, I'm saying the JCB 3CX. It's an icon, okay? I'm also saying the Cat D11, also an icon. The Cat 777, another icon. The PC210 from Komatsu. There was a time, and it was probably timed to coincide with me cutting my teeth. There was a time you couldn't go to a site without seeing a PC210. And of course, I'm going to throw in the Ruston Basaris RB22 because, you know, it's that, isn't it? It is just an absolute icon. Who have we got here? I know Gary Muirhead answered this very, very early doors. And I have to say, this was an absolute belter of a choice. In my opinion, it has to be the mighty Cat 245 ME. It was the ultimate muck shifting tool. Like the PC210, there was a time where every site you went to had a Cat 245. Not necessarily the ME spec, but certainly a 245. We've had more answers. Going to scroll down and find the others. Dan Cullen is saying an Ackerman. Any specific model? Any specific model? I'm not sure if that's an answer. I'm guessing that is an answer to the mystery machine. Gary Muirhead on a different subject. CITB will never change. It's just an old boys club who's only looking out for their own interests. Yeah, and yet, every 3 years we have a census. Every 3 years we have an opportunity to change it. Every 3 years we all say, time has come, it's past its sell-by date, let's get rid. And every 3 years we say, nah. Now let them crack on. It's almost, and I hate to use this as an analogy because I realise it's in very poor taste, but it's a bit like an abusive relationship. You know, woman turns up at the police station with a black eye and says, he's hit me again. Okay, what are you doing now? I'm going to go back. I don't get it. Question of the day. Ken Hatcher is going for a Cat backhoe, as I've done most of my time on one. I remember I was actually, when they launched the Cat 428 here in the UK, they did it at the Great Foster's Hotel over near sort of Staines, Chertsey way, and I was involved in that. Mark Whiting going a little less specific, the backhoe loader, but I do agree. Chris Ford says, Basaris, without rope-operated excavators, hydraulics wouldn't have advanced to be the machines we know today. I totally agree. So, yeah, I went for the RB22. Maybe there's another model out there that you might prefer. Dan is going for the JCB 436. I think that is probably a mystery machine. The Liebherr 536 and a Doosan shovel. No, none of those. Jim Turner, question of the day. The hoodie with reverse drive, man basket, O&K 300 series. Set the bar for all modern shovels. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. And O&K does belong, I have to say. Anybody got any specific models on that? Let me throw up the mystery machine again and show you a bit more. As I said, we can't even see the colour yet, but there is a colour change on this. Don't be fooled by it. The machine I'm showing you is not normally this colour. Keep the guesses coming because we've got an absolute stonker of a machine now. Back after this. In the unlikely event that I win the Euro lottery, I don't do it, but you know, you never know. Stranger things have happened. If I ever win the Euro lottery and have a sudden hankering for a mining excavator, I think I'll go for this one.
Introducing the R9300, the most efficient 250-ton excavator. Liebherr's engineering expertise and continuous improvement programs combine to deliver industry-leading machines. It delivers higher productivity thanks to a weight-optimized attachment, larger bucket capacity, optimal force distribution, and fast cycle times. Safety features ensure operator protection all day, every day, while a newly designed cabin provides unrivaled comfort and working conditions. The R9300 includes the latest I/O Mine solutions, such as the bucket filling assistant, which delivers a faster and more consistent fill factor in hard or blocky digging conditions. Additional systems like the truck loading assistant and performance monitoring notify the operator of KPIs and provide comprehensive machine performance insights for enhanced operations efficiency. Liebherr's latest 250-ton excavator is designed for fast and safe maintenance, minimizing downtime. It gets the most out of each fuel drop thanks to its unique hydraulic design, combined with the patented Liebherr Power Efficiency System. The R9300, built to perform.
What a tool. Gary Muirhead has just asked, was that the model that was at the last Bauma? I'll need to check. It may have been the 9300, but this is obviously the Generation 8, so maybe that's a bit of a change. Ken Hatcher, I'm in complete agreement. Some tool there. Do you want to say good morning to Garvin over on Instagram? Also, my mate Jonathan of Demo Boys, all the way over in the USA. Must be an early start for you, my friend, but good morning to you. Glad to see you here. Let's have a look. We're going back to this. We've had some guesses here. The Liebherr 536, it's not. Doosan Shovel, it's not one of those either. It's not a Volvo L150. It's now Dan Cullen is going for the JCB 456 457 HT. It's not one of those. Ken Hatcher, sprocket spotting as always. Let me show you a bit more of the mystery machine. There you are. As I say, don't be fooled by the little splash of green there. That's not its natural colour, but keep those guesses coming in. I do want to go back on the question of the day, though, because Chris Ford has just come up with an absolute belter of a shopping list here. The Hymac 580. Why did I not include the 580 in mine? Followed by Poclane 90 CKB. He is also going for the Komatsu PC 210. I don't know what it is. I mean, you guys operate these things. Was it just an exceptionally good excavator? Because there was a time, it just seemed to be, it had its moment. The PC 210 was the go-to. I don't know why. Dan is going for the Volvo L22H for the mystery machine. It's not. Let me show you a smidge more. A smidge. There you are. It has a wheel, if that helps at all. Yeah, keep those guesses coming. We'll be right back in just a moment. We're going behind the scenes with Bobcat in a second.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, it's still 8 or 9 weeks away, but we're slowly building a list of the people that we're planning to work with over at the Bauma exhibition. Obviously, we're working with the likes of Kinzofer yet again, which I'm delighted about. I said earlier, we're going to be working with Hitachi, but we're also working with our very, very good friends over at Bobcat. So we're going to take you behind the scenes at Bobcat to show you how it all happens.
At Bobcat, we know trust is earned. We've pursued it for over 65 years with everything we do. Our legacy is defying the limits. Designed to deliver, built to outlast, to ensure you're ready no matter what the job throws at you. From freezing cold to sweltering heat, you see it all. Your work experience bolsters every inch of our machines, and your feedback constantly refines them. With raw power, advanced data, and relentless improvement, we've created an entire organization focused on keeping you productive. We're here to back you up as you break the limits. From warranty service that never quits to local dealers that diminish downtime, North America's compact equipment experts are always near and always ready to help. This is more than a machine. It's an extension of you, shaped and strengthened by your achievements. It's one tough animal, and it's built the best because it's built for you.
Yeah, really looking forward to meeting up with Robert, with Lucas, with David, and all the rest of the gang over at Bobcat. Really looking forward to that. Now, going back to our mystery machine, I can tell you nobody's got the right answer, but we do have one person that is very much on the right path. Before we get to that, Gary Muirhead says, it's funny how we call all skid steers a Bobcat. Yeah, it's the same as all particularly on the BBC News. Anytime there's a backhoe loader, that's definitely a JCB. It's the Hoover thing, isn't it? I think it just becomes so ubiquitous that you end up, oh, that must be one of those things. Yeah, all skid steers are Bobcats, even when clearly they're not. Chris Ford went for the Bell 2206 for our Mystery Machine. It's not one of those. Dan Cullen, however, has suggested that, a case loader. Hang on a minute. You need to see my face for this. Keep those guesses coming. Let me show you a bit more while we're about it. There you are. There's a little bit more to be going on with. I'm going to take that away because we've got another thing to come up. For those people over at Manitou UK, it's your turn next, right after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
I love this bit of the show. I really do. I've revealed the fact that it is likely to be a case machine. So we've had Dan going for the 612F. Nope. Chris Ford going for the 1021G. It's not. Dan Cullen going for the 721G. It's not. The 821G. It's not. It's none of those things. Keep the guesses coming. Now, I have promised you some Manitou. You know when we always talk about electric machines and there's battery charges and battery life and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I take all that on board. But I'd like you to, if you're in a machine at the moment, try and sort of ease back on the revs, because I'd like you to listen to this. There's not much to listen to, which is precisely why I'm saying listen to it. Yeah, you can tell it's an electric machine when the loudest thing about it is the booming ending. Unbelievable. Fantastic. Top job by Manitou. Would love it. Let's have a look what we got. And we've got more guesses, none of which are still right. And we're just going up and down the range here. Dan going over the 721. He's also going for the 821. He's going for the 1221. Nope, not the 921. Not the 1121. If you look closely, let me take it away for a second, just make sure I can show you a bit more. Yes, I can. There you are. It's kind of the one that you just haven't mentioned. I say this every day. You got a left post, and a right post. You've hit both of them. There's one in the middle that you haven't hit. Didn't go for that. We got one final film for you, which is honestly absolutely fascinating. Right back after this. Still the guesses are coming in. Chris Ford, 521G. Nope, still not got the right one. They say, I don't know who they are, but they say that moving house is one of the most stressful things that you can do. So imagine moving house 3,000 times. in the Arctic Circle. Yeah, have a look.
For the people of Kiruna, it is very special because it affects the very core, the town center, where their everyday life is taking place.
Located 145 kilometers inside the Arctic Circle, the northernmost city in Sweden, Kiruna, is in the process of moving its city center in a gigantic urban relocation.
I think people choose to live here because of the nature and all the things you can do in the wild.
The mentality of the people of Kiruna is very special. It is warm, even though the weather is so cold.
Although the climate is harsh, Kiruna has always been a place where people want to stay, close to the Arctic nature. Another reason to stay is LKAB, the state-owned mining company, which is by far the largest employer in the region, and is the reason why Kiruna was put on the map in the first place.
We have the world's largest underground mine for iron ore. What makes the ore so special is the high purity and quality.
Over the years, the town and the mine have built a symbiotic relationship. With the expansion of the mine on Kiruna's western border, iron ore is being removed beneath the city's foundations, undermining the ground it sits on. In 2004, LKAB announced the need for relocating the city in order to keep the mining activities going. Without the move, much of the city would collapse into the earth. The plan is to relocate the town from here to here. Over the next 20 years, 6,000 people will move into new homes, built around a new town center. The move will take place in phases, and the first one has already begun. Volvo CE machines are busy doing the plant work preparing for apartments and stores.
The vision for the new city is based on requests from the people of Kiruna, where you don't live in one place, work in another, and buy groceries in a third. Instead, it's all mixed together.
By bringing the town together, that will also give us a chance to give more protected streetscapes and more protected public space from wind and snow.
Some cultural buildings will be moved in their entirety to the new location.
In order not to lose a part of Kiruna's identity, it is important not to build everything in a short period of time, and that we keep what reminds us of Kiruna's history.
Most of the town's other 1,100 buildings will be demolished and replaced on the new site. But buildings are just one part. You also need the local community on board.
The most important thing is to create a city that the people of Kiruna want to live in. A city you choose to move to, not one you have to move to.
Hopefully, the new city will be a chance for Kiruna to reinvent itself, a city adapted to the spirit of time and attracts young people to stay.
My image of my daughter's future will be characterized by what's in Kiruna. My oldest daughter is studying to be a civil engineer.
I think there will be new opportunities for us who live here. From something old, something new is born.
How much money does the mining industry make when you can afford to build a new city for people, some of whom don't even work there? Unbelievable. Ken Hatcher saying, can I have a new city? Well, if you live near a mine, Ken, you might want to drop that into the conversation. Chris Field saying, bet they never thought about newts, bats or badgers. Would newts survive in the Arctic Circle? Listen, this is not my specialist subject, but would they? Dan Cullen saying, wow, that's some work. And I can tell you that nobody has got the mystery machine today. Nobody's got it, which means I'm declaring myself the winner. There it is. There is the machine. There's a bit more. It's the 621G XT. I think we had a 521, we had a 651, but not the right one. Chris, yes, I won that. So let's not dwell on that. Chris Ward says, been working on a brownfield site of about 6 acres and the newt fencing cost over 200,000 quid. The newt fencing. This is why this industry struggles to actually get to the end of projects, because we're building newt fences. In my head, a newt fence is a little tiny fence about that tall. Jim Turner says, right, you have my full attention now. Been pouring floors for the first part of the show. Not a problem at all. Dan Cullen, I'd love to live there. Bit parky, I would have thought. But you're clearly a warm-blooded kind of guy, because you like the cold. Well done, Mark. Thanks, Dan. It's not really well done me. It's just a very poor show from you lot, basically. That's all it is. Anywho, that is about it for the main part of the show. The main part of the show, at least. I'm going to roll the intro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. Monday would be good. We'll be back here at 10 a.m. as always. But if you do have a bit of spare time and a bit of inclination, I will return in just a moment. From our lofty position in this supposedly enlightened age, it's easy to look back on our industrial past with a mix of amusement, shame, embarrassment, and horror. In cotton mills, children started as scavengers, crawling beneath working machinery to clear away dust and dirt and to gather any loose cotton to prevent waste. Crawling among the moving parts was extremely dangerous. Children had their hair ripped out, their fingers and arms broken or severed, their heads crushed, or they were decapitated. If they got stuck, their entire bodies were crushed by the machinery. We forced young children up chimneys. We sent men underground to mine coal with nothing more than a cloth cap for protection against roof collapses and a canary to warn of gas. Hat makers were regularly exposed to mercury, which slowly but surely drove them insane, hence the expression, mad as a hatter. Workers who painted glow-in-the-dark watch faces did so using radium, which ultimately gave them cancer. Painters, smelters, and battery manufacturers were frequently exposed to lead, leading to nerve damage and ultimately fatal poisoning. Stone cutters and foundry workers inhaled silica dust, causing scarring of the lungs. Wool and leather workers were exposed to anthrax, assembly line workers suffered repetitive strain injuries, and early medical workers faced high cancer risks due to uncontrolled exposure to X-rays. Demolition topmen were generally paid more because they were expected to work at height and acknowledgement of the risks involved. All those dangers and hazards ultimately led to the Health and Safety at Work Act of 1974, the principles of which still govern workplace safety today. Furthermore, health and safety, along with worker training, has since become an industry in its own right. So workers are safer today, right? Well, yes and no. Most Western countries have long since abolished child labour, although depending where you buy your clothes, your coffee or your electronics, you may be still helping to keep that tradition alive somewhere in the world. Most mining is now done above ground. Modern hat making no longer involves mercury, and we've figured out how to make watch faces visible without the cancerous side effects. We generally kill fewer working men and women these days. But before we start patting ourselves on the back for a job well done, let's pause for a moment. The lead that caused cancer among painters and battery manufacturers hasn't disappeared. In fact, demolition workers regularly deal with that legacy. Silica dust remains a serious and ever-present hazard for demolition and construction workers today. There's still a risk of anthrax exposure for workers disturbing old plaster, particularly in traditional wattle and daub houses where horsehair was used to was used to bind the plaster. And no discussion of workplace toxins is complete without mentioning the biggest killer of them all, asbestos, which continues to kill tens of thousands of people around the world each year. As a society, we recognise the dangers of children crawling beneath machinery. We don't allow that anymore. Yet we're still content to engineer construction and demolition projects that require men and machines to work closely. I'm going to do that bit again. I'm having a bad morning. Yet we are still content to engineer construction and demolition projects that require men and machines to work in dangerously close proximity. We know that working at height remains the leading cause of deaths in demolition and construction, yet we continue to expect workers to do precisely that. Our industrial forebears did what they did out of greed, yes, but also out of ignorance. There's no evidence to suggest that they were aware of the potentially deadly effects of anthrax, radium, lead, and asbestos. We have no such excuse. Modern science, statistical analysis, and the evidence of our own eyes tells us that working at height is dangerous and potentially deadly. We choose to keep doing it. We know that if men and machines work side by side, often in confined spaces, it's only a matter of time before someone is struck, maimed, or killed. Yet we continue to plan our works that create precisely that scenario. And we know that exposure to asbestos will likely kill you in the end. While we now have systems to handle asbestos once it's been identified, we still treat demolition workers like mine canaries, sending them in blindly or with incomplete asbestos reports. For all our Health and Safety at Work Act regulations, workers' rights, training programs, competence cards, and personal protective equipment, demolition and construction safety has failed to keep pace with the evolution of the industry itself, and it has failed to heed many of the lessons from the past. In fact, we're exposing today's workers to many of the same hazards that injured, maimed, and killed their forebears 100 or more years ago. Worse still, we're doing so knowingly. Just wanted to send you off with a big smile on your face on a Friday morning. Yeah, that was my thoughts for the day. Let's have a look. Let me get back to here. Jim Turner, back to the question of the day. Tracks and crawler loader paved the way for the modern track shuttle. Did it? Need to go and have a look at that. Dan Cullen says, those fences are madness. We're talking about newt fencing. Lots of money involved with mining. Everything has minerals in it. Well, that's certainly true. Here we are. Food for thought. We talk about how far we have gone with the design of machines. Who's going to design the machines that will build intergalactic highways, and what will they look like? Well, I'll tell you now. Komatsu will be one of them. Yeah, Komatsu will be one of them. Uncle Zogs over on Instagram just said, how are you doing, mate? I'm doing fine. Good morning. Yeah, Komatsu have signed up to some sort of lunar construction process. I don't know. I don't know how you go about getting a. I'm sure Elon Musk is working on this at the moment. I don't know how you go about getting an excavator or a dozer to the moon, but there you are. Chris Ford says there was a 64-year-old steeplejack that spent half a day with the Undertaker last week. Yeah. The thing that triggered that, I mean, I've always got a bit of a thing about construction safety and demolition safety anyway. But, you know, and I realise they were extreme examples and things like exposure to anthrax and radium and kind of, you know, our forebears were ignorant. They did not know. They did not know what they did. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, and so on. How could we seek forgiveness knowing that we do know what we do? Every time we send somebody to work at height, every time we plan a job to have men and machines working in close proximity, every time we accept an asbestos report that may be of questionable quality or may be incomplete, and we'll send people in, you know, and this, for those of you that don't touch on demolition particularly often, this is not a rare occurrence. This is an everyday occurrence. You get an asbestos report that says, we've had a look, you'll find a bit of asbestos on that pipe work over there, but there's nothing else. and then somebody picks up a roof tile and the whole thing is covered in asbestos, or they go into a doorway that was previously locked and is now not locked and it's full of asbestos, and we're doing that knowingly, day in, day out. O'Grady Griffin just said, "Add me to the live." No. Feel free to chat, but you're over on Instagram, and I can't do that there anyway. So yeah, we are doing that knowingly. How do we live with ourselves doing that? Bearing in mind, all of the regulations that we've got, all of the competence and stuff we've got, and then on top of all of that, all of the systems that we've got, that things like modern equipment and modern testing procedures and that kind of thing. How are we still falling for this? Like to see how you get your ticket for operating an interterrestrial earth mover. Wonder what category that comes in. Would it be considered an earth mover if you weren't on the earth? Would you be a lunar mover or a moon mover? I don't know. Jim Turner says, that's why I've never gone into demolition. Too much harmful crap floating about. And I didn't mention all of them. There are all manner of toxins and stuff, PCBs and that kind of thing. You go into a form of chemical works or a form of petrol works or a factory or whatever it might be, and it is just rammed with stuff. It's like Australia. It's full to the brim with shit that is out to kill you. And yet off you go, fellas. I don't know how we do that as an industry. I don't know how we're allowed to do that as an industry, and I don't know how we live with ourselves having done that. It just blows my mind. Joe Brown Construction over on Instagram has just joined us. Good morning, chaps. Good morning. It just makes no sense to me at all. It makes no sense to me at all. I mean, in some ways, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the Construction Industry Training Board. We've had our fingers burned by the CITB time and time and time again. And we've now signed up to go and have them burned again. And we do exactly the same with working at height, having men and machines working close by each other, exposure to asbestos, exposure to all the other toxins that are out there. We know, and we do it again and again. And I don't know whether it's ignorance, cruelty, stupidity, a lack of will to change. All of those things. What have we got? Dan Cullen. People don't know the difference in asbestos, as the insulation one, which is blue, is the worst of all. Yeah, we have this blanket term, asbestos, but there's plenty of types. None of them are good, but blue is particularly bad. And you can't see the fibres, they're invisible to the naked eye. Yeah, absolutely. Much the same as, lead, anthrax, you wouldn't know. I think if you are used to working in old buildings, wattle and daub plaster and that kind of thing, I think you would probably figure that out. But by and large, you probably wouldn't. It's not. It doesn't come with a warning. You take down a piece of plaster, it kind of holds itself together, and you think, that looks like horsehair. Yeah, if it's horsehair, chances are there's a bit of anthrax kicking around as well. The fibres are actually lighter than a cat's hair. I've never weighed a cat's hair, but it's worth knowing. We are talking about tiny fibres, and that is part of the problem. The tiny fibres then make their way into your lungs and so on. And there are recorded cases, not just of people in the workplace being killed by asbestos, but there's one. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us. She died about 6 months ago. There was a lady who had contracted mesothelioma from her husband. Her husband had been regularly exposed to asbestos, but he used to wear overalls, and he'd come home, take off his overalls, and she'd bundle them up and throw them in the washing machine. And the fibres that had clung to those overalls made their way up her hooter, into her lungs, and ultimately killed her. Killed her husband a good many years before, and ultimately got her as well. That is the danger of asbestos, and yet we are still doing it. And we know about asbestos. We know about how to handle it. It's this bit in the middle. It's this, I've had phone calls aplenty here about, we've just been given a job. We've been given an asbestos report, which doesn't look particularly thorough. We've gone and had a look, and the place is full of asbestos. Now, in that instance, or in those instances, it's always been a demolition company that has had the good sense to go and check. But that's not every demolition contractor. It's not every construction worker. And one of the other things that this throws up to me, somebody's hoovering outside the door in very poor timing. One of the things that this throws up to me, we've talked a lot about the switch from demolition to refurb and retrofit, which is fine. If that's the way the world goes, if that's the way they deem it to be sensible, then okay, that's the way we go. Within demolition, we've got lots and lots of highly trained people that have been through lots of asbestos awareness courses. They've got cards to prove it. They've got the gear and everything else. Has the refurb and retrofit industry been down the same path? Are they equally well equipped? Because all you need to do with asbestos is disturb it. Now, obviously, within demolition, it's a large-scale, wholesale disturbance, taking down walls, taking down ceilings. But if you go in and start refurbing and you're knocking down a bit of plaster, or you're taking a wall down, or you're knocking a door frame out, and there's asbestos there, you're going to get exposed. Are the refurb and retrofit boys and girls ready for that? Dan Cullen says 4 main types of asbestos most dangerous. One, chrysolite, chrysotile, never remember, is the name of the most dangerous one. Is that the blue one? I think it is. I've actually done an asbestos awareness course, but because I don't generally get exposed to it, it's one of those things that I've parked somewhere in the deep recesses of my brain. So yes, we've come a long way in so many ways, and yet in terms of worker health and safety, we've hardly come anywhere at all. Food for thought, isn't it? Doesn't that make you feel all warm and fuzzy? And bearing in mind that part of what I'm talking about here is down to training, and we have just given the training board another 3 years. Now, I'm not blaming them for worker deaths and worker accidents by any means. But if you're going to raise the standards in terms of legislation, in terms of exposure limitation, in terms of planning, and in terms of training, everyone needs to move at the same pace. You can't have the likes of me sat here saying it's all going pear-shaped, and for them to be 5 years behind me saying, oh, well, it is going pear-shaped, but we're going to refocus. We're going to be laser focused on it. It's bullshit. Absolute bullshit is what it is. Anyway. There we are. That's another week done, and that is another month done. January is done and dusted as of midnight tonight. So well done, everyone. Well done indeed. You've all made it to the very end. We'll be back on Monday for more of the same, for the first show of February. Big month, February. Jim Turner says, refurbs and retrofit are nothing new. It's been going on as long as time, and plenty of jobs will never have an asbestos report. Well, that's certainly true. My concern with that, Jim, is refurb and retrofit is nothing new. But we now have some very, very influential people, both in national and in local government, that are trying to basically push demolition out of the way and to refurb. So we're going to have way, way more of it. If we have way, way more of it, there will be people out there going, quick buck, let's jump on the retrofit bandwagon. And they're going to start retrofit companies with no knowledge, prior knowledge, no experience, no cards, no training, no safety gear, no PPE whatsoever. And they will make a killing financially. My concern is they could make a killing in the truest sense of the word. So there you are. As I say, a nice cheery thought to send you off into your Saturdays. I'll be back here on Monday, 10 a.m. with more Mystery Machines, more questions of the day and stuff. Hope to see you then. If not, well, I'll see you when I see you. Until then, everybody, have a fantastic day. Thank you for your company. Thanks for all your input. And the Hall of Fame, I have to say, would look pretty damn splendid. Before I press the button, finally, fantastic month of shows, Mark. Thank you. You're very welcome, sir. I am here to serve. I was going to say serve and protect, but I can't do that. But I'm certainly here to serve. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you.